Right, so in about 5 or 6 days, TikTok is allegedly going to be banned in the US, finally. They've been threatening that for years. This time it might be real, unless whoever the people who run TikTok sell it to the US. Now, there's a lot I could say about that, about like censorship, or it being hypocritical because the US government steals our data all the time, or I could talk about how the bill is not just about TikTok, but there's plenty of videos talking about that. What I am more interested to see from the perspective of somebody who doesn't use TikTok all that much, like I have it, I've occasionally posted on it, but it's not like my focus or anything. I wouldn't even have it installed on my phone. What I'm more curious to see is going to be the cultural shift if it gets banned, because if you remember back when Vine got taken down, there was a huge wave of people who used Vine, that was like their whole thing, moving to YouTube, and that greatly shifted the YouTube landscape. So what I think is going to happen is the same thing is going to happen from TikTok to Instagram, and the cultures on both sites are very different, because obviously there's Instagram Reels, which in concept are the same thing as TikTok, but the culture on Instagram is very different, and I feel like it's gonna be a shock to a lot of people from TikTok, and it's also probably going to annoy people who use Instagram Reels, but over time, the two are going to get, kind of, what's the word, consolidated? I don't know if that's the right word. But the two cultures are going to merge over time. And it's going to vastly change the landscape of Instagram Reels and YouTube to an extent as well, because there's YouTube Shorts. Mainly in the comment sections, and then the types of content that are being made on each website. Because the culture in, like, discussions and comments are very different across all three sites, of course. But even the content is different. Like, you'll see people posting certain videos on Instagram, and then some of the comments will be like, why isn't this on YouTube Shorts? Because there's an expected type of content. And there's an expected type of content from TikTok as well that's less common on the other sites, but then it's going to move to those other sites because TikTok is going to be gone. At least when it comes to people in the US. Obviously, this won't apply to everybody because, you know, the British people exist, and other countries as well. That's just the first one that came to mind because I think British people are kind of funny. But the US is a huge user base, so that many people moving to other sites is going to be a huge cultural shift. And I feel like a lot of people are scared about that, but again, like I said earlier, the same thing happened with Vine. And I'm not saying that current YouTube is like peak or anything, but the website is still standing at least. And over time, the two things just kind of got merged. You have people still on YouTube who got their starts really on Vine, like Thomas Sanders, for example. Because of this, I also think it's going to be interesting to see people from TikTok who move to YouTube and then might make longer form content, whereas that's something they weren't really doing before. Because again, that also happened with Vine. You had a bunch of people who were making these 6-second videos, and now, oh, the website's gone, so they moved to YouTube, but the culture on YouTube rewards long-form content, so those people started making long-form content, and it like vastly changed the trajectory of their career and the landscape of YouTube as a platform because the humor and stuff from Vine was bleeding onto it. So I don't know. I don't use TikTok that much, so I know people are upset about it, and I get it, sort of. I understand why people are upset, and I also am very aware that there's the issue of censorship, and that the bill as a whole is bad, like it's not just the TikTok ban, but purely from a, like, content perspective, I think it's about to be really interesting, and I'm really curious to see how that's going to affect social media as a whole, especially when it comes to people, content creators and viewers in the US. So I don't know, that's all my opinion on the ban is, really, is I just think it's gonna be interesting to see. Am I about to win in first place? Hell yeah, that's what I like to see. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's all. I think the whole TikTok thing is interesting to say the least. Stay safe, have a nice day, goodbye.